Hello, 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 and we're further into our journey into the Radiohead back catalogue. And today we're looking at Kid A, originally released 2nd of October 2000. Oh, this is a divisive record. This and Amnesiac. Um, oof, what can we say about it? What can we say without like kind of repeating what everybody else has said about it? We saw Radiohead deconstruct themselves once more. You saw it with OK Computer, where they looked at what they'd done on their previous album and decided we're not going to do that again, and they tried to, reinvent themselves. This was a much more radical reinvention, and again, if you read into the background of the recordings of these records, this was a band that was having trouble. They were creatively at an impasse. I suppose is probably the best way of describing it. And again, I think that kind of comes across. At the time, I thought it was I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a good millennial, turn of the millennia kind of record. Because you've got to remember there was that sense of moving into the future and leaving the old century behind. Again, context and time is really important when thinking about how you felt about things that when they happen. Obviously, stating the bloody obvious again. But again, I think with hindsight, it's been like 21 years, crikey, since its release. You can forget. You can forget what it's like. And again, at the time, when I came to it, I thought, wow, it seemed like a natural progression. They were getting rid of the guitars, moving into more almost krautrock arena, deconstruct themselves once more, becoming even more minimalist, using beats and samples, sampling themselves. So it was, I thought it was a very brave move. At the time, I thought it was a necessary move because, again, if a band is intent on reinventing itself, you need to keep reinventing yourself. Otherwise, you are going to end up treading water. Unfortunately, or fortunately, with listening to it back again, I'm like, yeah, you can kind of hear where some of the critics, because it did divide people. There were the people that were on board and went, yeah, this is good, and there were the people that went, this is pretentious, self-indulgent twaddle. And I think there's a little bit of truth in both arguments. One, that it's a radical departure and it was necessary, and two, it is self-indulgent. It's that divisive, and same with Amnesiac, which I think is even more problematic. But we're going to talk about that in the next video. So yeah, but at the time, I really enjoyed it and thought, yeah, this is cool. And again, it's that idea of moving into the new century with something kind of brave. It's quite it's quite like a broken. I mean, even the album artwork, which we'll look at, it's like a broken. Everything feels broken and not quite right, and because again, there's this historical idea that the turn of the heading towards the millennia, and this has happened all the time. There's a sense of paranoia, and of things breaking down, of not being the same, disasters happening, and we had that with the Millennium Bug, and previous millennia, there have been oh, will the sun go out and that kind of thing. So we were kind of echoing the pre-millennial paranoia that's been seen before, and this is kind of like you feel like it's kind of the result of everything kind of breaking down, the Y2K bug and how fractious things were at that point. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Maybe it really is just a band running on fumes and have got no ideas, so they're just going to repeat themselves. Opens with everything in its right place, and again, it's a radical. This and Kid A are a radical departures. It's electronica, complete electronica. and it must have been shocking for those expecting that guitar-driven, you know, middle-class rock. This is no. Luckily, you know, I'm used to this kind of music, you know, because you know I've listened to, you know, well, some say you know Aphex Twin had a big influence on the recordings. You know, listening not himself, he didn't come turn up and help, but yeah, you know what I mean. And of course, krautrock and the various experimental German bands of the '70s. You know, you can hear that in the recordings, but you know, it must have been a bit of a culture shock for some people. Um, but you do hear flashes flashes of the old Radiohead or previous Radiohead in the songs. You know, whenever a guitar, you know, comes to the fore, you instantly think back to OK Computer, and you think, this is that band. But it's 50 minutes long, and again, this is what I was, you know, again, listen to it, you know, for this, and I was like, yeah, I think, yeah, there are some bits you know, I overstay their welcome. I think again, a little bit of trimming here and there, but again, I want to talk about this in the next, you know, in the next video. But also, there is also again the hidden track. There's a hidden track at the end, so there's about nearly 2 minutes silence. So call it 47 minutes in total. It's still a big album. This feels more like a 35-minute record, you know. But it's interesting to hear the band trying to, you know, they bring in, was it horns on the national anthem, which again feels very much like a Radiohead, you know, classic Radiohead song. But again, the orchestration, instrumentation has been, you know, altered to bring in. I mean, they use horns and jazz arrangements in this. In the next album, again, I don't want to jump ahead, but they use. I'm just referring to the Wikipedia page. The Humphrey Lyttelton Band, which is, you know, a little bit of a departure. So they are playing with the arrangement here. So yeah, I'm kind of divided because I remember how much I enjoyed it at the time, and then, you know, 20 years later, I'm like, yeah, I can see what the critics were moaning about. Because at the time there was quite a big kickback. Just looking at some of the reviews. Where is it? The Guardian gave it a 2-star. Melody Maker 1.5. Q gave it a 3. Nick Hornby, the novelist, wrote morbid proof that this sort of self-indulgent results in a weird kind of anonymity rather than something distinctive and original. Mark Bowman of Melody Maker said, "Tubby, ostentatious, self-congratulatory. Look at me. I can suck my own cock. Whiny old rubbish." And people complain about my reviews. And I can understand what they're saying. Though I will say with Nick Hornby, it does still have that Radiohead distinctiveness. But again, really, I should have talked about Kiddo and Amnesiac together, because I feel like I want to mention that thing. I won't mention until the next video. But yeah, I think it's a good album. A little bit long. Some of the ideas, yeah, they're a little bit underdeveloped. But I still think it's worthy. But the problem comes with Amnesiac. So this is actually a 2-part review. So you need to watch the Amnesiac review for me to continue with this. Oh, have we ever done a 2-part review before? Dun dun dun! 2-part review. Ooh, there we go. This is a first, and we're going to thank that to Radiohead. So what we'll do is we could have a look at the vinyl. Why not? As you can see, we've got this this juvenilia, as I call it. It's not really art as so much as smears, but I'm sure it means something. And it's a double LP, this pressing. Look at that. It's a double LP. Who'd have thunk it? Like I said, I'm sure I'll get my kids to design this artwork. I couldn't design this if I tried. It wouldn't look amateurish enough. Oh God, thumbs down by the Radiohead fans. You know what I mean. Come on, it's juvenile. You know, it's not mature work, is it? But yeah, I think as a reinvention, it's more than halfway there, and there's enough of it. Again, but the problem with it, and this is why he talks about distinctiveness. Is the problem with it is a lot of it is forgettable. A lot of it is forgettable, and you only remember it when it's playing. You go, I know this now. You know, it's not like OK Computer or the Bends where, you know, they got the hooks. This isn't about hooks. This is, again, it's about texture and feel and, you know, a kind of broken down version of Radiohead. So, yeah, there you go. But, like I say, come back for part 2, where we'll discuss this album and Amnesiac together. And you'll get it when you watch the next one. My name's been Darren, like I've been talking about. Put it down. I should have kept it. I should have kept it in my hands. I've been talking about Radiohead's Kid A album. Oh, it was the post-millennial record. It's their 4th studio album from the 2nd of October 2000. And I remember there was quite a lot of media, because it was like it was 3 years after the previous one. So I remember there was quite a lot of interviews, and they had these blip things they did on the internet. There's lots of media for this one. So join me for part 2, where the discussion of this will continue. Ta.